This is Nina Orville down in Dobbs, Ferry, Westchester County.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about some of the different financing approaches that are available for municipalities to use in completing a conversion of their streetlights. And the good news is that there are a number of choices for municipalities. And as we spoke with municipalities that have employed these various financing approaches, what we found was that all the municipalities that I spoke with were really pleased with the option that they had selected. So it's important to bear in mind there isn't one right answer for all the municipalities. It's a question of assessing what's right for you. So among the options are municipal finance, municipal leasing, and then the two other bullets here, energy performance contracts and New York Power Authority services, which are really, they're not strictly financing options, but they're really procurement strategies that are available that may include financing. So it's important to know also that the cost to acquire your municipality's existing streetlights, if that's a necessary part of your project, can be bundled into any of these financing approaches or may be funded separately by the municipality as you determine. Next slide. So the municipal finance option is one that has been used by quite a few munis, and it includes use of bonds or bond anticipation notes principally. And some of the characteristics include the fact that the bond anticipation notes or bands are very low cost. They're also short term. They can be renewed for up to 5 years. And bonds, and they have low interest rates and relatively low transaction costs. Bonds have low interest rates, as you know, but very high transaction costs, and aren't going to function well as a standalone financing strategy for streetlights unless you're talking about a streetlight conversion for a really large municipality with a lot of lights. Typically, instead, bonds would be issued for a portfolio of projects, including streetlights. With both of these instruments, you're impacting your borrowing capacity and your debt rating, which is an important consideration for a lot of municipalities. Some municipalities have also used self-funding techniques, including use of capital funds or operational funds to convert their streetlights. And some of the things to consider in terms of this approach are it's likely to result in incremental conversion, and therefore a municipality is likely to lose the economies of scale that they may gain by doing the conversion all at once. And that also means deferring the opportunity to capture all the savings that are available by converting your lights. So you're getting those advantages more slowly over time. And also, a lot of municipalities don't have the budget flexibility to accommodate this strategy. The next slide. A couple of different municipalities that have used municipal finance to move forward with streetlight conversion include the City of Kingston, which in 2015 authorized bonding to acquire over 2,000 utility-owned streetlights, plus conversion of several hundred streetlights that the city already owned. And the PSC approved the acquisition of the lights by the city this past spring, and the City of Kingston is working with the Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium on conversion of those lights. going forward. The next example is my own municipality of Dobbs Ferry. Now, Dobbs Ferry, as a Westchester municipality located in Con Ed service territory, already owned its own streetlights and therefore only had to finance the conversion of those lights to LED. And the village chose to do that in 2 phases. In 2011, the village was the first municipality, at least in the region, maybe in New York State, to convert a significant number of its streetlights to LED. And it did that through issuance of a bond anticipation note. And in that case, the municipality decided to install the lights itself using municipal staff. And the 3-year payback was significantly shorter than the financing instrument that was used. And then last year, the village completed the conversion of its streetlights. It chose to piggyback on a contract. Actually, George had mentioned that municipalities were still piggybacking on the city of Yonkers contract, but it was actually New Rochelle that provided a piggyback opportunity, which a lot of municipalities, including Dobbs Ferry, took advantage of. And the second phase of conversion was financed with capital funds, including, since the cost of the conversion of the first half of the lights was less than had been anticipated, there was some funds still remaining that had been appropriated for that first project. And again, a bond anticipation note. And with the second phase of conversion, the village decided to have the contractor install the lights because it had taken a very prolonged period of time for the municipal staff to do it themselves under the first phase. So they decided to accelerate the process to complete the project. Next slide. Another strategy, or one strategy that some municipalities have used to complete the streetlight conversion is use of an energy performance contract. And energy performance contracts enable projects to be financed through the savings that will result from that project, something that's regulated by New York State energy law. And key characteristics include that it's a turnkey project. The energy services company may help coordinate financing. They won't provide it themselves. And there are guaranteed savings that result from the project that are required as the basis, again, for financing the project. This isn't a strategy that works for very small projects, and as we'll discuss, isn't necessarily the most cost-effective way to move forward with a simple, straight-ahead streetlight conversion project. So one example is, if you could move forward, Pat, the city of Yonkers, which converted its 12,000 streetlights. They issued the RFP now 5 years ago for an energy performance contract. And as is true with an energy performance contract, it was for complete turnkey services, including investment grade audit, procurement, and installation of the lights. And the $8.7 million cost of the project was financed through a lease, a 10-year lease. And the city was very pleased with the results from that, with net savings of almost $1 million a year after the finance costs, and a reduction of municipal greenhouse gas emissions by about 10%. And one more energy performance contract that I'll just mention, we don't have a slide for it, is the town of Mamaroneck, where they used an energy performance contract for a whole portfolio of projects. And they used the savings from the streetlights component of that portfolio to fund other energy projects that they wanted to accomplish that didn't have as significant savings associated with them. So that includes projects like installing new generators, for instance, that provide no savings, no energy savings, but were important in terms of meeting the objectives of the town from an energy perspective. So the next strategy that we'll talk about, and Pat, are you hearing an echo on your end?
Yeah, I don't know what's different.
I'll let you see whether you can identify it. Is it too distracting?
Nope, it's fine.
Okay. So the next approach that we'll talk about is a tax-exempt municipal lease, also known as tax-exempt lease purchase. And this is a strategy that's often used to finance energy performance contracts, but it's a financing approach that can be used on its own. And as George has indicated, the majority of the streetlight conversion projects that he works on in other states are financed in this way. So key characteristics include that the lessor provides the lessee funds to purchase the equipment and to fund the whole conversion project. And the lessor then takes a security interest in the equipment. The lessor is repaid through the lease payments, and the lessee, the municipality, builds equity over time and owns the equipment outright at the end of the lease term. So structured correctly, the municipal lease is not considered debt, so it doesn't impact borrowing capacity or credit rating. It's an annual expenditure. And some other real benefits are the flexibility of this approach. So the term can be matched to the needs of a particular project. The transaction costs are very low. The interest rates are low. And there's a lot of flexibility also in terms of the size of the funding that's sought. So in a conversation with one company that's very active in this area, they indicated that they will fund projects as small as $25,000. So that's important to bear in mind. And this is an approach that we would certainly recommend municipalities consider when they're thinking about this kind of conversion project.
Great.
Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned before, in conversations with municipalities throughout the region that have acquired the streetlights or that have completed the conversion of the streetlights, they approach that in a range of ways in terms of the financing strategy they used, and all of them indicated they were really pleased with the way they approached the project. So it's a question of considering the characteristics of these different financing options and determining which is the best fit for your municipality, taking into account considerations such as, of course, the cost of the financing, both the interest rate and, very importantly, in some cases, the transaction costs, any impact on municipal borrowing capacity, the term that you're seeking. And one of the things that municipalities will think about is what the optimal financing term is relative to the payback period for the project. So some municipalities have matched the financing term with the payback with the estimated payback for the project, essentially letting the project pay for itself in the same amount of time as the term of the financing. Other municipalities have opted to select a more extended financing term and to generate some cash flow from the savings from the project during the term of financing. Something else just to think about relative to the option of an energy performance contract is the value of that guarantee. And when LED streetlight conversion projects were more new and were less tested and understood, the value of the guarantee that you can get through that strategy was more significant than the value is now. When the savings from an LED conversion project that's done well with a good contractor and with good equipment, etc., you essentially, a municipality can be very comfortable with what the savings are that will be achieved from that project. So the value of that guarantee falls off in that case. Where that may not be true is in the case of the town of Mamaroneck, for example, when you're using an energy performance contract for a whole portfolio of energy projects. And you want to ensure that the total aggregate savings are sufficient to pay for that full portfolio of projects. A final point is that with the collaborative approach that we're taking through the Mid-Hudson Streetlight Consortium, our goal is to help municipalities reduce the project costs, which of course then reduces the amount that needs to be financed to effect conversion. So that's one of the goals that we have and one of the benefits that participating communities will have. Pat, should we talk about NYPA?
We certainly can, yep.
Okay, so the final component of this is New York Power Authority has the streetlight conversion, offers streetlight conversion services. Again, it's a turnkey approach, including procurement, design, and project management, with everything overseen by NYPA. There's low-cost financing through the use of a municipal lease, as would be true in general with use of a municipal lease. The savings are equal to or greater than those payments. And again, as is true with all these other approaches, the acquisition of these existing streetlights can be included in the project. So the NYPA approach is just one variant of the turnkey strategy that George talked about previously.
What are this group, what's the size of those projects?
Right, so a NYPA project would start at 400 lights and up. They're not able to accommodate smaller municipalities, although there has been some talk of them aggregating projects, but we don't know that that's actually occurred.